Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for another episode. I absolutely love having all of you tuning in every week with me, and of course, hearing your feedback, reading your reviews on iTunes, and seeing your posts on Instagram or your stories. It's just super cool for myself, and I know it means a lot to the athletes as well. So I just appreciate you coming, listening, subscribing, and tuning in with me. So today we are speaking with a married mom of two who works as a fitness trainer and online competition prep coach. She has a passion for taking people from miserable metabolisms and strict diets to getting them in the best shape of their lives and making sure all the aspects of competing are covered, from fitness and nutrition to hair and makeup. And she is also working in the financial services industry, so she is a super busy woman. She's grown her own business doing this, and after losing a lung, she found her passion for fitness against all the odds. So I am really excited for you guys to hear this one. Welcome to the show, Judith Dicker. How are you doing?
Hi, Celeste. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing awesome. Like I said, I'm so happy you're here. And of course, before we get into everything, I of course want to know what's something you do or a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage.
Okay, this is a good one, and I actually had some time to think about it.
Yes, you got a leg up.
It's my favorite question. No, but honestly, what I do right before stepping the stage, so usually during my prep, I go through some interesting experiences, and those are the moments that I like to treasure and think about before stepping on stage. So I have two examples. One was I went running with my husband and son, and it started raining, like pouring, and we were running the trails, and we were literally like dripping. It's like we were soaking, and we just kept running. And I thought to myself, this is that moment. I'm going to think about this before stepping on stage. And also another moment was we were vacationing in San Diego, and I was on prep, and I had to find. I didn't bring enough protein with me, so we went to Sprouts. I think it was like a Sprouts store or Whole Foods, and I just got those, those boiled eggs. And it, how it has the yellow on the inside. I cannot have the yellow because my fats were very low. So I was sitting in the car, and I didn't have anything to open the eggs, and I was just eating the gross eggs.
No.
And I remember thinking, this is going to be worth it. and those were the two things I thought about before stepping on stage. And I know it's so silly, but I feel like every prep has its different moments. But to me, the rain was so special because my husband and son were there with me. And yeah, it puts a smile on my face. It's just, of course, I always think that, I really feel beautiful on show day. So regardless of what happens, I'll always treasure that day. But yeah, the moments during prep, definitely, that's what makes the whole prep so special.
Wow, I love that. I like that you take the time to really cherish and see those moments as they're happening and turn them into amazing things that you look back on and that help you to smile before going on stage. It just shows that you're obviously very committed to the present moment, and I like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned in the intro that you are very busy, you're a multifaceted woman, and I cannot wait to learn obviously even more about you and share you with others. So I want to start off by talking about something like crazy that got you into fitness. And I read that article, Losing a Lung, Gaining Fitness, from bodybuilding.com about you. And I guess to sum up what I got from it is that you moved from South Africa and you were required to get an x-ray. Then they saw a lump, which was later discovered to be from a tapeworm, but no one did anything about it. They just cleared you as tuberculosis free. Then you had an incident that forced you into action because you couldn't breathe one night, and you were rushed to the hospital, had lots of complications, and eventually you had the lung removed, or I should
Yes.
say a majority of it. So what happened next? Or clarify if any of that story is missing. I know I really oversimplified it, but like, what did the doctors tell you? And then what was it that made you really get into fitness as a lifestyle?
So first of all, thank you for simplifying it, because it's always, when someone asks me this question, I'm always like, okay, where do I start? Are you ready? Do you have a lot of time? So no, that's perfect. You have it right. So actually, when they released me from the airport, they didn't know what was wrong with me, and they just told me, we're gonna give you this chest X-ray. We don't know what was wrong, and I was fine. I didn't have any complications until I started getting really sick. But yeah, so to answer your question, after the surgery, um, it was really a big turning point in my life, because I was pretty active when I was younger. Before the surgery, I was active, and this took me from being a model. So I used to be active in modeling in South Africa as well, and it really did give me a different perception on life. I do think it changed me as a person, in the fact that when you're a model and you're young, people treat you special.
Mm.
And when I lost my lung, well, after the surgery, I lost all my hair, and I was really skinny and meek, or just weak. I think I did look very weak to people on the outside, and I actually did feel pretty weak. But, living in London at the time, it's very fast paced, and people don't have the time. If you can't keep up with the pace, they don't have time for you. And so it's my first experience, being on the other side of life, if I can say it like that,
Mm-hmm.
where instead of being uh, favored, I'm now being seen as someone who is in the way and weak, and I didn't want that to be my life. And I remember putting on makeup
Mm-hmm.
because see the doctor for my checkup, and he looked at me and he's like, "You're not fooling me. I can tell you're still very sick. You need to take it slow." And I didn't want to listen. I decided to sign up for a 5K and see how far I can push it, because I did believe that if I exercise and I can just expand the lung that I have left, that I will be healthier. And it was hard. It was really hard, but I was able to complete the 5K. And after that, I wanted to become a group fitness instructor, which was crazy.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so I did that as well, and it was intense. It's very different, the training in London for a group exercise instructor. You have to be able to take each other's classes, and for your exams, you take like 5 classes. So you kind of like teach each other your class as a test, and then you get to teach your class in the end. And it was hard, but after that, I was so proud that I could do it. And once I put my mind on just being involved with fitness, it's almost like my body just started healing by itself. I do think that your mind has a lot of power over your body. If you accept that you're going to be weak, and you just, if you go lie down, you are going to get weaker instead of fighting for it. If that makes sense. And I hope I'm not going the wrong direction with this. Um, but yeah, so, and then after that, so I did a triathlon after that, and I just kept going. To the point that when I went to go see my doctor again, they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe that my lung was so much expanded, and that was healthy. And I've gained some good weight. And so that was really good. It was probably it was the most difficult thing I had to do in my life. Today I look back and I feel like I can face anything. A lot of the things that happened during my surgery, it was hard. Part of that was I I chose an epidural for my pain relief
Mm-hmm.
for after surgery, and it was supposed to numb my right side of my body where the surgery took place, but they pushed it down too far, so it numbed the left side.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, so when I woke up, after surgery, I wasn't so much pain. And I remember telling them I'm in pain. And they didn't believe it because of the epidural. So yeah, 2 days later, the doctor came in and he realized that it was, I had no numbing. It was just, it was on the wrong side. So like that was probably the hardest part of the surgery, that,
Oh my
and,
God.
as silly as it sounds, losing my hair and just looking really weak. And I just don't want that for anyone. I think that it's such a gift to be healthy, and just to be normal is a gift to me.
Wow. That's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. And I can only imagine like how much perspective you did gain, like you said, when you went from being that person who was um like seen as like almost like put on a pedestal, like as a
Yeah.
model,
Mm-hmm.
and then going from that to being overlooked and being seen as like someone who's just getting in the way.
Right.
And then, the whole decision to go into a 5K and then get your group fitness instructor certification. I mean, like, how did you have moments where you felt like your body wasn't going to be able to support you in your endeavor? Or did you,
Yeah.
okay, how did that
Yeah.
feel?
So this is not going to sound pretty, but it pretty much felt like I was going to wake myself.
Oh my
um,
gosh.
because it's basically like it feels like a tight balloon that cannot expand as much as you want it to expand. So especially when you get really tired, you would be grasping for air, but there just won't be any space. There would not be any way to grasp more air.
Mm.
And I just honestly, like, the more I felt that, the harder I worked, because I just wanted to get rid of that. And it's really interesting. I found that when I exercise more, my breathing is so much better today as well. Like I used to get tired just talking because, it's almost like my lung needs that exercise to keep that expansion, to have that extra, I guess, space. But yeah, it's hard. Actually, still today, when I do my HIIT training, I struggle through it because it's easier for me. I can keep running for an hour, but it's the stopping and going, like with HIIT training, that gets to me. But I do it.
Yeah, because you're a badass. So, obviously this causes a lot of challenges mentally and emotionally, and you said something so awesome that I 100%, well, I can't even say I agree with it because it's proven by science. There is a mind-body connection. So,
Yeah.
what did you do to keep your thoughts conducive to your goals?
My goal as to,
Um,
um,
Functioning and getting back into fitness and being strong, not feeling weak, not letting that situation overcome you.
I think I've always, since I was young, since I was a little girl, I've had a very a fighter mentality. Um, I remember doing track in school, and I wanted to always win,
Uh-huh.
which pretty sounds terrible, but I've always been someone to push for a win. And on a more emotional field, if I'm in pain or I'm suffering, I get really upset. So I'll push past it. I remember going for sprints and, just bursting out in tears, deciding I'm not going to let it take control over me. And I think it's just really an inner drive I've always had, to try and beat that thing that's trying to control me, whatever it is. Even with people, if someone tries to bring me down, I'll just almost push harder, with kindness, if it
Yeah.
makes sense. But no, with fitness, it's always been, when it gets tough, I'll just push harder. Even if it's tough on my body, I'll just push through it.
Wow. That's awesome. And I mean, it's almost like you were prepared for that for so long that
Hmm.
when it came time to face it, it just helps you to gain even more strength. And um,
Right.
did this influence your like journey in competing in terms of I'm not actually
Mhm.
completely familiar with like your whole journey to getting your pro card. So did that
Okay.
show up?
Yeah, so it's actually, I started competing in 2014, and my challenge, believe it or not, was so I want to get back on stage because I missed the stage from doing modeling. I used to do modeling, and I used to sing before my lung surgery, but now I cannot sing anymore because of my breathing. But so fitness, doing bikini competitions was my way back into getting back on stage. But before that, I saw Jamie Eason's That Lifted program of hers. That was on bodybuilding.com. And I decided I'm going to try and do it. And I just saw my body transform so much just by doing weight training. It was completely new to me. And that's when I started eating even better and more protein. And I learned a lot about nutrition. And then I saw these girls compete, and I thought to myself, that would be wonderful to get back on stage. But I was concerned because I have a big scar on my back. I mean, I have a really big scar on my back. Mm-hmm. And I thought that they would, take points away because of that scar. And I remember asking so many people who were competing if that will count against me. And they told me, no, it won't, because, you have moms with C-section scars, and you've got people with tattoos, and, they won't, take any marks away. And so I wanted to just prove, honestly, my first competition, 2014, I wanted to prove that I can stand up stage and just look like I belong. I just wanted to look like I belong and be okay with the scar on my back. And after the first show, I was hooked.
Wow.
Yeah. But so then that was 2014. And then, so I was actually very conservative with competing, in the sense that I only did one show a year. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make sure my body stays healthy. And the first year I had a hard time putting on muscle. So I wasn't doing any cardio. And then I was on a different team the year after that. And it was so much cardio that I didn't feel good, but I still pushed through. And so I competed regionally in one show here in Texas. And then I went to do nationals in Miami. And wow. I got dead last. We were like 57 girls on stage. And my call out was whoever's left, And it's funny because I felt like I looked really good. But if I look at the pictures now, I can see that, I was just skinny. I didn't have enough muscle. And then I took another year off after that because I was so done with competing, in the sense that I didn't want to eat, the diet foods anymore. And I just didn't see it as healthy. I would go back and forth, thinking this is going to create unhealthy habits. And my daughter, she's watching me eat like only certain kinds of food. So I took off. I took a year off, and I missed the stage. And then after that, I reached out to my coach, who's now my coach. And I told him, I'm so done with dieting. But I want to have another alternative. Is there any way I can do this a healthier way? And, I've been with the same team since then, and it's been almost 3 years now.
Wow.
So I think it's just my 1, 2. So I've done 4 national shows, including Miami, and 2, 3, 4 regional shows. So 8 shows total. So it's not 8 shows, I want to say.
So when you had done that one show, I remember in a post you were writing, I think you wrote in a post how you had been doing like 70 to 90 minutes of cardio every day. And you were eating like hardly any carbs. Mm-hmm. So were you working with a coach, or were you prepping yourself back then?
I was working with the coach back then. And, okay. I really did like the coach. And the issue was every week I'll check in, and then I would hear that, okay, we're going to take more food away and increase your cardio. And my weight kept dropping. And to the point where I had such little carbs, and I just trusted the process. You know how they say, trust the process. Mm-hmm. I even asked this coach, I would ask this person questions, and then I would just hear, don't ask, just do. And that was, to me, that was it. Like, because, you know your body, and they do know, I do believe that our coaches, they get to know your body well, as, also very well. but you know when something doesn't feel right. And that whole prep, I just felt like my body was just off. I just felt I didn't feel strong. And
Wow.
yeah, so I was really lean for that show, and it wasn't really a bad experience, but I thought that's probably what prep feels like. You're supposed to just feel like that all the time.
Right.
And my experience this time is so different. I'm 7 weeks out from my next show, and we increasing food still. So it's, there's definitely different ways to do it. But I would say definitely do your research into a coach before hiring them, even though if they have a good reputation, ask people like personally who's worked with them before.
Yeah, I totally agree that that's a really good thing to do. Like, understand the coach's process and even ask the coach, like, if I ask questions, are you going to be willing to answer them? Or if I want to know what this process is, or if you can switch it up, will you be willing to? I think that that's a really good takeaway from that. And you worked with the coach you're currently with for like a year of building, I believe, and then you went and you did a prep. So what did you do over that year of building with them to bring that more muscular, full, and conditioned look that actually won you your pro card?
So it was a very difficult process. Straight away, he increased my carbs and decreased my cardio. And so basically, we kept bumping my food up, and my carbs. I was eating more carbs now than protein, where I was used to always doing high protein, low fat, low carb. This was now, my protein stayed the same throughout the prep, and my carbs were way more than my protein, and my fats kept being pushed up. Eating different varieties of foods. So I went from a meal plan to a macro-based approach, where macro-based to the sense where the food I'm eating is still pretty clean. It's not, I don't go and have ice cream, but I'll get a cheat day here and there that I would have something healthy. So it will be like chicken and pasta as an example, not cookies and stuff like that. And but yeah, I remember I had to grow. I had to see my body get bigger, but there wasn't any, cellulite on my body, because to me that's always the first thing, right? Is cellulite on the back of my legs. So I just got bigger, but my skin just still looked good. But I didn't feel, it was so frustrating. I would email my coach and say, this is not working. This is not working for me. We need to do something else. And I remember him replying to me saying, what do you mean it's not working? Let me show you this. And then I noticed that we actually came a long way. And I remember also a time where I told him, when can we start prep? And he asked me, how would that be different? And that was the first time it clicked to me that he sees it as a lifestyle. It's not just a period of your life that you go extreme. And so it was definitely a lot of being very specific about timing my meals around my workouts, so I can use that to build muscle, increasing carbs. And also the thing I love about his approach is it only gets really challenging around 6 weeks out from your show, 5 weeks out from your show. And so you still feel pretty healthy. But yeah, it was really a journey. It was a journey of, it took a lot of trust. And also we increased my leg days. I went to do 3 glute days, only glutes. We don't train my legs at all because I have very athletic legs. My quads grow very quickly. I just look at them and they grow. So we did. So we're only working the back of the legs. I cannot really train my legs heavy because of them growing so much. And then doing shoulders 2 to 3 times a week. And also something that was key that I think a lot of people overlook was growing my back to give you that nice, C shape. What they call it, like an S shape or a C shape. It just makes your waist look tiny.
Yes. Like V shape, X shape, hourglass shape.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's super awesome. I appreciate you sharing all that. And it actually is really aligned with some of the I had a few questions asked by some listeners, and I actually want
Mhm.
to ask you them. So,
Mhm.
um, did you ever follow anything with nutrient timing, or do you think nutrient timing matters?
I think it matters for sure, yes. It's good to schedule your carbs, most of your carbs during your workout. So if you work out in the morning, you want to have about, for myself, I try and have about 50% of my carbs around like before and after my workout. Um, Same thing in the afternoon, but if you train late at night, it's kind of hard. But I would definitely not try and have too many carbs after 7 at night. So yes, definitely. I think especially with carbs, I try to have my fat in the morning and later, like my last meal at night, and then my carbs around my workouts. And then I just schedule my protein kind of equally throughout the day. But I eat about 5 to 6 meals a day.
Okay, got it.
Answer the
And
question.
yes, that definitely answers the question. So, when you get close to a show, do you cut out artificial sweeteners?
Absolutely, yes.
Mhm.
That makes a big difference. Anything processed, I cut out. I don't know what it is. I've never been able to understand the whole process, but I know that it makes me hold water, and that's usually pretty hard. So usually, 2 weeks out from my show, my body just it's crazy. It just drops weight. Like
Mhm.
as soon as I cut anything processed out, it's almost like it just is. It's like a machine. Your body just gets rid of any water, and it's pretty amazing to watch how what your body can do when you do that. But I
Yeah,
keep I keep sodium in though. I keep my salt in. It's only like processed like sweeteners and actually anything like the artificial sweeteners and processed foods.
got it. And
Mhm.
do you have any staples that you like to keep in your diet? Because I know you follow a macro approach, but a lot of girls end up having like diet staples anyway. So do you have anything that you
Mhm.
just really like?
I love my oatmeal.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. So I make mine on the stove and I add lots of water. And I like to slice like a quarter pear or like a half or a quarter pear, depending on how much carbs I have available for the day. So
Mhm.
I'll slice that into my oatmeal while it's cooking on the stove and extra water. And it actually makes it more. It's really like, you should try it. It's like, you'll take like a third cup of oatmeal and it becomes like a whole bowl full of oatmeal. And of
Yes,
course,
that's
with
the
peanut
hack.
butter. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So that's my favorite. I love my oatmeal. I mean, I do enjoy, it's funny, I actually enjoy prep food. Like I do like having my chicken with these like a sugar-free barbecue sauce you can buy
Yeah.
that I like to add to my chicken, but I can't have that when I'm close to a show. But that's like become a staple of mine.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's I can eat it on everything pretty much.
That's awesome. And I know you help other girls as well. And I feel like there's
Mhm.
so much I want to talk to you about in regards to this, but you are really passionate about helping other women to repair their metabolism and also have a healthy relationship with food and exercise. So, what do you do specifically, or what are some things you could share with us that help women who are struggling with metabolic damage?
Mhm. So it's I do take when I take girls in, most of the time they come from a background of previous diets or bad experiences with coaches who put them on, supplements that they weren't supposed to be on. So a lot of them come to me with thyroid issues, um, also, digestion issues where they're having a hard time digesting food. So I work very closely with them. I At first we look at what they're eating, and then we try and eliminate food that I think might be causing them to have issues. A lot of it's also psychological. So I do work with them. We take food that they enjoy eating, and then I put it in the right quantities at first so that they are still eating the same food that they actually enjoy eating, but just in different amounts. So a lot of times what happens is they'll come to me and they'll be losing weight, still eating. Some of them are still having Oreos, so it's
Hmm.
just knowing how much you can have of that. and getting them away from that. A lot of people come to me also fearing carbs. I used to fear carbs myself.
Yeah.
And those clients, I have a client who came to me, she was on a keto diet, and I explained to her that she does need carbs in her diet, and she had the hardest time trusting the process. And but we took time to just slowly incorporate carbs that she feels comfortable to eat. And it got to the point where she just started losing so much weight that I couldn't feed her enough food to help her to grow. To give you an idea, then I've got girls with celiac disease,
Mm-hmm.
and so we try different things for them, like having apple cider vinegar before they eat. I know it sounds horrible, but these are the little things that make a difference if you have digestion issues.
Yeah.
And especially girls that want to compete. I had a girl that she came from, she had a bad experience with being on a diet and using, I'm just going to call it special supplements.
Yes.
And I firmly believe that that is not good for your body,
Not at
especially as a
all.
female. And yeah, so it took us a while to get, it's basically, it takes a while to find what works for a person. But she had the same experience where she was losing weight. She finally saw her abs again, and she just competed in a show, and she actually won. She won the overall.
Woo, that's
So that was
awesome.
great. Yeah. So I feel like we also changed the training style. Everyone likes different things, so it's not the same for everyone. With her, it was she enjoyed doing kind of boot camp style training,
Mm-hmm.
so we changed her workouts to accommodate for that, because that also was working better for her body. She didn't want to have as much muscle. She just wanted to look athletic. So I do think that there's different approaches, but I honestly, I started the whole thing. I wanted to coach girls to do bikini competitions, and what I ended up doing is help them with their metabolisms, and it's so rewarding. I still, some of them aren't my clients anymore because they've moved on to other areas in life, but I still see them, and it's good to see that it's almost like I help them get their life back, if it makes sense. And to me,
Absolutely.
it's a bigger reward than having someone compete. It's just to give them that freedom, where they can still eat what they enjoy eating. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a process. It's definitely a process.
I appreciate you sharing all of that too, because I think that that's going to give people who are listening a good idea of maybe what could be beneficial for them, or also open their mind to know that you can change it up. You can take a new approach. Um, you can try something new, and
Yeah.
you can also overcome a lot of those fears that you might have, or the beliefs that maybe were instilled from, of course, like dieting culture or the
Mhm.
competitor world, and overcome them. And
Absolutely.
I totally agree with you too. How like when you get your clients' results, it it means so much. Like you
Mhm.
want to just celebrate with them and like squeeze them and just like be with them forever. Like I'm so happy, just like always
Yeah.
making sure they're okay. And it's such a rewarding feeling when you can make that impact. And I love that. That's something
Mhm.
you really value. And um, you know
Yeah.
it's something what you mentioned about like changing up that person's training style.
Yeah.
You guys focus, or does it depend on the person? I'm sure, but for yourself, do you
Mhm.
prefer to do more like compound movements or isolation work?
At the moment, it's mostly isolation work, because I don't want, I'm trying not, I don't want to grow anymore at this point. So I'm trying to just pretty much do more shaping, especially my glutes. That's
Yes.
always my feedback. Is like I don't grow anymore. you know so it's gonna be very different for me. I take about 30 minutes now to just activate the glutes, and like I start my glute training with stretching and activation exercises. And it was really frustrating in the beginning because I love lifting heavy, but my body, for bikini, it's going to push me into a different division if I lift heavy, but
Yes.
yeah, it's actually I actually feel good by doing more stretching. But I still train my shoulders heavy. It's just my lower body that I had to change my training style completely. And
Wow.
yeah, foam rolling definitely helps.
Oh,
So
yes.
yeah, I know a lot of girls, we don't want to take the time to foam roll. I'm there as well, and it makes such a big difference.
It really does make. I can't imagine going in the gym without foam rolling now. I feel like I would
Mhm.
feel so awkward starting to
Right.
move. My body would be like, nope,
What are
can't
you
do
doing?
it. Yeah, 100% agree. So you mentioned something too. I want to backtrack slightly. You
Mhm.
said like you've also helped people with like how they feel about certain types of food. Like you really helped that one woman like go from
Mhm.
fearing carbs to then embracing them and having to feed her so much food because she kept
Mhm.
like her body was just responding. And I want to just say, as someone who helps people with their relationship with food, I really appreciate when coaches do things like that and when coaches
Mhm.
take the time to like educate as well as encourage, because you said something really key, which was you slowly started introducing them into her diet and it was
Mhm.
a process. And I love that you said that because so often we want to convince ourselves that it's like not going to require much effort or it's easier to sell
Right.
something that doesn't require much effort. But in reality, it does require effort. These are real problems. These are things that
Mhm.
people struggle with. And when a coach like you can have a positive influence on someone and say, like, we're in this together, I'm going to help you through this,
Right.
that goes a long way. And I wanted to acknowledge you for that because I just
Thank you.
think that's awesome. And um,
Thank you. Yeah, it helps to have been there yourself. I think um, because I went through some of it myself. I know the trigger points. I know that it's scary. It is scary to make that change and just trust your body or trust the stranger, trust the coach. You know, um, but yeah, it definitely is like you say. It is a process. It does take time, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it in the end. It's like the biggest gift you can give yourself, just to have like a normal life. You
mm,
know.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
It's like we don't have to live in this world of I should be this way or I have to be this way or this is
Right.
the expectation. And I think it's
Mhm.
really easy to get caught up in that, especially when we're exposing ourselves to that every single day,
Oh
whether,
yeah.
we believe it or not. It's happening on a subconscious level where we see
Mhm.
someone we admire and maybe they're doing something a certain way. So we think, well, that's how I have to do it. And then we completely lose connection or regard for what we actually want or what we actually need or what we
Mhm.
actually want to get out of this life. And so to step away from that and say, this is what is going on and I need support with it or I need help with it, or
Right.
maybe you don't even know that it's a problem. Maybe she didn't even realize hating carbs was such a bad thing until she was able to be exposed to something better and something different that then gave her a freedom that previously maybe she wasn't aware existed. And it's a
Mhm.
very fulfilling and empowering thing to do for yourself. Changing your relationship with
Absolutely.
food is changing your relationship with yourself.
Right. Oh, absolutely. But I would like to bring something up. You just like
Yeah,
made me think of something, if it's okay with you. Um,
absolutely.
Something that's really important to me, that I always tell my clients. So a lot of times you'll have a client that comes to you and they'll tell me, I want to do what you do. I want to get my body to that level. I want to compete. And then usually it's a process to get their bodies from where they are to a place where we can start competition prep.
Mm,
And, so they'll get to that place where they feel really happy with their bodies, and you see the changes happening for them, and it's like a whole change in their whole attitude towards life. They're just so happy with what they see. That's when I ask them to take a picture of that body where
mm,
they feel so happy with themselves. I do the same. I have a picture of myself after I lost my baby weight from having my kids, and I keep that picture close by. And so I tell them to do the same thing. And then after they've taken that picture, we're going to pray. Because what happens, and I'm sure it happens to all of us, is you forget that you were happy with that body that you accomplished the first time you lost weight or you reached that goal. Because when you compete, your whole standard, right, changes. Like, it's a whole different level of leanness, and you cannot hold on to that. I'm not as lean as I was on stage right now, but I know I'll get there again because it's kind of a process. It's part of the sport. But a lot of women don't realize that. They see it as losing something, and they forget how good they felt when they lost that weight in the beginning. And then I see it. I mean, I've seen the people, they get so hard on themselves, and they start picking themselves apart because they get feedback. And, with me personally, it's my glutes. They can be boxy. My feedback is always, your glutes are boxy, you got to bring them down. So it's in my head that they're boxy. So I was trying to remind myself that, actually, no, I look at how far I've come and I'm actually happy with that. But I think it's very easy to get tied up in the bodybuilding world that we are in, and forget I'm happy with ourselves, if it makes sense.
Makes so much sense, and I seriously love everything you just said. I'm like, yes, that's so beautiful. It's like such a great exercise that you suggest to them to do, like to really embrace your body and love your body before committing to a prep or before committing to a diet or a training program or some new lifestyle change is so important. And I feel like for me personally, this is I would say this is the first time that I fully 110% love and embrace my body before starting a prep. And now that I'm in this prep, and by the time people listen, it's like a few weeks in, months actually, probably. I don't even know, whatever. It's just a really great prep because I went into it loving myself, loving what I created.
It's so different when you take that approach. It's supposed to be a good experience, like that.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be about meeting a standard as soon as possible. It's like you said, trust that you're going to get there. You can get there, especially if you've competed before and then maybe you took some time off and you gained weight, or you gained even like 5% of 5% more of what you expected to gain, or whatever it might be.
Right.
It doesn't matter as long as you truly are ready to commit to the process from a place of love and honoring the sport and honoring yourself, not so much because you want to change your body and fix your body and meet all these standards. It's like, what do you love about this sport? What do you love about this?
Yeah. That's so true. I'm actually writing that down.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. We're both taking notes over here. I was like, take a picture when you're happy. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a friend that was like, hey, did you ever like document like your progress photos? And she's like, no, I've only ever taken photos of myself when I'm feeling good and happy with my body. And I just take a selfie at the gym. And that's how I've always compared my progress. And I'm like, I like that because you're not forcing yourself to like, I'm going to get on this scale and make a judge. It's like, no, I'm feeling good by myself. Like, my sister asked me the other day, she was like, how often do you weigh yourself? And I was like, honestly, when I'm not checking in with my coach, I don't really, it doesn't matter to me as long as I feel good. And if I don't have to weigh myself, or let's say I have to weigh myself, I try to make myself feel good before if I don't. Or of course, if it comes down to weight in general, it's like on the days you feel really amazing about life, about yourself, those are the good days to take progress photos and to celebrate yourself. And if you want to do stats as well, rather than forcing yourself to do it when you feel like crap, that makes no sense.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Totally agree with you. And I totally agree on not weighing yourself also. I do not weigh myself. I only started weighing myself recently because my coach wanted to know if my weight has changed.
Yes.
I've even told him before, I'm not ready to get on the scale yet, and he was okay with it.
Yeah.
No, it's just a number that messes with my head. It's always been like that, So if my jeans fit, I'm happy.
And that's the thing. Like, I used to feel like weight was a big defining factor for me. Like, wow, I'm up this much from stage weight. I'm a failure as a competitor. I'm not a good representation of this or that. And it was like so silly because now my mindset is so different. It's just like, I could step on that scale in front of the whole world and I would not care about the number. Like to me, it's
Right.
so arbitrary now that I don't
Mm-hmm.
care, but I do emphasize that it's really important to make sure that if you are in that negative space, like you said, I'm not ready to step on it, honor that boundary that you've set with yourself and do it when you're ready, or do it when you are exposing yourself little by little. Like it is okay.
Right.
Sometimes I'll have my clients who are afraid of like getting on a scale. I'm like put a post-it over where it reads and just step on it. And
Mm-hmm.
nothing's going to be there, but you can start to eliminate that attachment to the scale as something bad. The thing that seems bad is the number. So why does the number
Right.
seem bad? It's a belief. Where did that belief come from? Why is that belief running how you feel about yourself? What matters more in your life? Like you said, how do you feel?
Right.
How do your clothes fit?
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important because I know a lot of my clients, I'll tell them, don't weigh yourself. And then they'll weigh themselves. And I'll get a message, my weight has gone up. And I'm like, well, it's so many factors, maybe you trained legs yesterday. You weighed so much,
Yeah.
it's going to be up. So it's just, no, it's not accurate. But yeah, it is important, like you say, to make peace with that number as well. And
Mm,
just, accept, what does it really mean? It's just a number. It doesn't
yeah,
define you.
exactly.
Mhm.
And the more you talk about it too, like it's nothing, the more it literally becomes nothing. Like
Right.
that's our mindset. It's the thoughts and the things we're telling ourselves, like they will become our reality if our actions start aligning with them. And I know you do place a lot of emphasis on mindset, and something else that you do with your clients as well, which I think is an awesome idea. And I love this. You
Yeah.
set up photo shoots for them, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
what inspired you to do that? Like, talk to me about what that is.
So it does come from my love for. I used to do fitness modeling in South Africa,
Mhm.
and to me, it's almost a way of just honoring your journey. I love going with them, and I have a lot of photographer friends here in Houston that are really great at what they do, and so I like to go with the girls and just help them feel comfortable in front of the camera, and I help them with posing as well. And it's just like they always come back. It's almost like it's really good to do this before your show. It's really a good confidence booster. So I like to work with girls that are first time competitors, help them build their confidence. You won't believe the difference it makes. I see it's like day and night. They'll go out usually and be like, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't know how to pose, or what if the photographer doesn't like me?
Oh yeah,
and
that's a real fear.
uh and then they meet the photographer, and it's the nicest people. And I am very specific with who I work with. There's a lot of interesting characters in our world, and the people I work with are really great with directing the girls on how to pose and how to position their bodies and stuff like that. And we always get really good pictures out of it. So it's honestly, it's more of a confidence booster and a way to celebrate their journey. And to me, it's because you go and you compete, and that's it. Like, I feel like sometimes it's more rewarding to have a photo shoot
Mhm.
to celebrate that body that you've built, versus going to compete, and there's not that much opportunity to do photos. You don't get the best stage photos always. It's just a whole different experience.
I love that
But I
so
actually started doing it. Girls started asking me that they want to do what I do, and I figured, why not incorporate it into what I do for my clients?
much.
And it's been really good. Yeah, I love it. I love going with them, and it's almost like I see them. It's like a little bit like their lives kind of. It's almost like a transformation, and
Yeah,
I love being part of
that is so cool. I seriously love that, and
that.
I think it's just amazing how much you're putting into your clients on an inner transformation as well as a physical one, and making sure the two worlds are aligning really well. And
Hmm.
um, I know you offer online posing too, and one of our listeners actually wanted to know how you can fix awkward hands when posing. Like, what kinds of things would you recommend if someone had like super awkward hands when they were posing?
So super super awkward hands with, um, when they pose or when they're walking? There's
I
different
guess,
methods. Um,
I don't know. I didn't ask
yeah.
details.
So for super, so there's some tricks that I can share. If you feel super awkward with your hands while you're walking, some girls I've noticed when they get nervous, they kind of do this walk where they'll have the same, like their left arm will go up with their left leg.
Mm,
You've seen that before.
yeah.
So I've taught them before they start walking to put the one hand on the hip. It's little tricks. Put your one hand on the hip before you start walking, and it will just automatically align your arms as you start walking.
Mm.
Um, Awkward hands. Um, I would say if your hands are awkward doing a pose like a front pose, to just relax into it and just let your middle finger softly, imagine there's a string on it, like someone is pulling it like from with a string, and just imagine that finger is heavy, so that hand drops down.
Ooh.
That's something that I would usually say, and it always works. Someone who has a hard time walking on with high heels, I think a lot of us girls have that issue because we wear sneakers so much, is is if you imagine that you're really big chested. So imagine like disproportionately you are very heavy chested, and
Uh-huh.
it's heavy, and there's a line that you can't see, like a line in front of you, a line that goes straight down. When you walk, you want to imagine that line in front of you, and you want to try pushing your chest through that line first. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does
And
make sense.
yeah, so that as soon as you do that, you're gonna take the weight off of your feet, and it changes your walk. I've seen it so many times. It changes their walk straight away. It's like they become so light on their feet, and I
Wow.
think it puts a smile on their face as well, because they think, of thinking what, having, being big chested.
Oh yeah.
So um, there's a lot of things. I use keywords as well with some of the girls that are nervous. Um, it's just little, like things to help them remember what they're gonna do next.
Mm,
But yeah, I love posing. I love teaching posing. It's one of my favorite things.
that's awesome. I can tell you have a lot of great like tricks about it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Uh-huh.
So with your competitors, you also focus on their suit, hair, makeup. So what
Mhm.
specifically do you consider or guide them to consider when it comes to presenting their best look with all those things?
So I do think the suit cut is very important, especially so some girls, all of our hips are different. So the connectors, a lot of girls like these connectors, like the thicker connectors, or the ones that have like two rows that hang down over the hips. So those are really good if you don't have big hips, and if you have smaller glutes, those are really great. But for most of my clients, we try and like pick smaller connectors, so it doesn't make the glutes look bigger. Not bigger the hips, it doesn't make it look bigger. And color is very important. Um, but I think it's very important that you choose the right color. Like you get red that shines beautiful on stage, but then you get a red that doesn't have the right Swarovski crystals
Mhm.
that can make you look washed out. And the same with hair. Um, I feel like the whole look makes a big difference. Like for myself, as an example, I like to think of the lineup. If they're gonna put you in a lineup for, let's say, top call outs, you want to be sure that I don't want to say blend in, but if everyone is going to be wearing thick extensions in the back, you want to be sure that you have the same.
Mm.
Because if your hair isn't thick, the judges might be, you might lose points, because everyone else has this thick hair, and here you are, and maybe your hair is, I don't know, like maybe you didn't do your hair properly. It doesn't have to be thick, but I think you can curl it to make it look thicker, or put some product in to make it thicker. And
Mm.
I'm hoping I'm making sense now. I feel
You
like
are making sense.
but
Yeah.
for myself, I have I have naturally very long hair, but I still wear what they call like the halo crown
Mm-hmm.
to make my hair like look thicker on stage, so that when they do the comparison from the back, that it matches everyone else. So I think it takes the focus away from my hair because it's blending with everyone else's thick hair,
Yeah.
and they just focus on the glutes. Because they don't have a lot of time to judge you, so I always try to, like I think a judge can look at you, and let's say your suit bottoms are not pulled up high enough, they they might not place you in the top call out, and they won't even know why. It's just their eye caught something that wasn't quite
Yeah.
right. Like it's little things that people don't you don't think about it, but it if you put that person in a lineup with everyone else, it will stand out as not being a top call out, if it makes sense.
Makes total sense. Like, it's not like they're going, oh, her suit is weird. It's, oh, this person looks better or something standing
Yeah,
out more.
yeah.
And yeah, I was posing with a friend the other day. Her name is Laura, and
Yeah.
yeah, I remember, shoot, I think she said her posing coach or someone told her that
Mhm.
Sandy said sometimes it's also hard for the judges to judge in comparison rounds if everyone's doing like a different front pose. So
Right. Yeah, yeah.
sometimes it's almost better if everyone's doing like the one that like kind of became popular after Courtney King, like that new side front pose one, um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
versus the OG like leg out one or the S shape one. And I thought that was a really interesting point, and I was wondering, like, do you have any thoughts on that?
I actually agree on that. I think it's hard. I've noticed that most of the girls that place, they have a very specific front stance that shows the curving of, the shoulders. So you have the shoulders and then the thin waist
Mhm.
and then the glutes. So the shoulders and the glutes are in line. And that's that C curve I think I talked about earlier
Yeah,
that they like to
now I
see.
gotcha what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I think so my front pose is, it's basically my legs are pointing one direction, and then I think it's the Courtney King front pose, like the regular ones,
Yes,
like the side
yes.
pose. And and the way I pose, I make sure that that curve is very prominent, and that my glutes and my shoulders are lined up. And I think that I love the other front pose as well. I used to do that one with the legs standing out to the side because
Mm-hmm.
it used to make my abs look really good.
Yes.
But I do think that they are looking for that symmetry, and that front pose helps so much. And I do think if everyone had that front pose, it would help the judges to better judge that C curve, you know.
Yeah. It's
But my coach often tells me that stand up straight because it's a front pose, it's not a back pose. Because I sometimes I like to lean into it a little bit too much to
uh-huh.
to show that little dimple on the side.
Yes.
you know. So he's like, you just stand up more straight. You don't want to show your back pose yet.
The booty dimple.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Just
everybody's
stop it.
favorite. I love it. That's so
Uh-huh.
cute. I know, like, sometimes I think, okay, but what if, like, if you go out there, you're not gonna look at all the girls next to you in comparisons and be like, okay, they're all doing this front pose. Because you just won't know. So there's
Right.
also that level of just come, I guess, come prepared to do what looks best on you and your body. Don't change
Oh, yes. Yes,
that kind of thing.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. Um, I have a client who she does that pose, the one with the leg out,
Hmm.
and she wins shows, she wins overalls and everything,
Wow.
because it's so strong on her. I feel like if you can pull it off, it's beautiful.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
Angelica pulls it off in all
That's
of her
right.
routines, and it's just
Yeah.
whoa. Yeah, it's definitely about the body and what looks good on you as an individual. And um
Mhm.
something else I wanted to ask you about in regard to like what you do every day and your mindset,
Mhm.
because your mindset is obviously very strong and you have a lot of amazing posts on mindset. You also are clearly showing that here how important it is to you and the mindset you've been able to create. So what are some of the things that you do day to day, like habits or rituals that you have that you think make a difference in how you feel about yourself, approach life, and of course compete?
So I like to set weekly challenges for myself, and it might be simple things because I do so much that it's kind of hard to maintain that balance, and it might be something as simple as you're gonna laugh. Um,
Uh-huh.
for today, it was I had to plant my bougainvillea. I bought these beautiful bougainvillea flowers, and
Uh-huh.
they've been sitting outside. And today I have to plant them. That's my goal for the day.
I love that.
So I know it's something so small, and but that's like those are so every day I have different goals where I'll set my week up in my Google Calendar, and I have different things that I do. I set dates with my kids and stuff like that. But something I started doing a couple of years ago that's been really great, and my daughter started doing the same thing, is we have these little journals that we write in at night, like just like a couple of like I think for her it's like 3 things that she's thankful for her day,
Mm-hmm.
and so I do the same. Mine's a little bit more detailed, but I've noticed that. So my husband has a saying: if I go to him and I tell him like something that I had to go through that day, he'll tell me, well, it could have been worse. And I used to get so upset about it, but if you really look at things, there's so much to be thankful for. And I always just try and look at the positive in every situation. Um, you know, I think all of us face a lot of things daily. We get presented with so many different opportunities, both good and bad. And I'll give an example. I've had, I've in the corporate world, I deal with a lot of difficult people. I work in the finances industry, so it's stock trading, and so you get to, being a woman and being young. I have a supervisor position, and so I get a lot of issues in the day. And there's been times where I wanted to resign my job until I realized then, who wins if I quit today, then who wins? Who put me on a, I had to look for a different job and stuff like that. So I always try to think of, you know, different ways I can handle the situation. And then I try and kind of like go into detail about if I go this direction, where will that get me? And if I go the other direction, where will that get me? And, I've been in my corporate job in Houston for 16, 17 years now.
Mhm.
And it's been difficult, and it's been, daily decisions of just trying to do the right thing versus the easy thing.
Mm.
And I have the saying of sometimes the easy thing is the hard thing to do,
Yeah.
and doing, because it's always been like that. If, I'd like to, I'm getting carried away with this, but
No, I like it.
I choose to do hard first. So if something presents itself and it's difficult and it's going to cause conflict, I'll go talk to that person straight away and sort it out in a nice way versus letting it sit for a while. And that's helped me so much in life, just with like staying on track with things. Um, so yeah, I guess I don't delay, and that's helped me a lot throughout my life to get through the day. And also, I think something I say a lot on Instagram, which is so true, is you have to remind yourself that you bring the energy. So
Yeah.
you show up, doesn't matter what, because I mean, I go exercise early in the morning, and some people are grumpy in the morning, and you
Yeah.
cannot let that affect you. You have to bring the energy because you don't know what they're going through. So often I'll talk to someone at the gym, and then I realize that they're going through some really tough things. And if I didn't talk to them, I would not have had any idea. So I do think it's not take anything personal in life ever. Um, Kind of just push forward and be positive. You can choose be positive or negative, and being negative is not going to get you anywhere in life ever.
That's right. That's
Mm-hmm.
right. I like that a lot. I think a lot of the things that you do are simple to implement, but
Mm-hmm.
also some of the other things you do, like daily seeing the positives over the negative and choosing to bring the energy you want and tackling the harder things first. those kinds of things require conscious choices every single day to actually do that and commit to that and honor that. So I think that those are some amazing things that you do to really strengthen and create a better mindset and positive mindset. And I mean, for
Thank
people
you.
listening, you're welcome, of course. I hope
Yeah.
that people listening implement it, and see
Mhm.
that it really can make a difference. And especially with the challenges each day or each week, I think that that's really powerful because it's actually a great way to build self-efficacy, which is our belief in our abilities. And so the more that we can
Yes.
set out little things for ourselves to do like that, then the more we're going to believe we can take on some of those harder things that might come up throughout the day. So I appreciate you
Mhm.
sharing all of that.
Yeah, oh, you're so welcome. It makes a big difference. It takes a while to get used to it, and I think especially with competitors, most of us face that. Some people will not agree with the lifestyle, and I always say, as long as you stay true to yourself, and as long as you can live with your decisions in life, that you'll be happy. It's when we alter our expectations of life to fit others' needs that life becomes miserable. And
Yeah,
I've been very fortunate, though. My husband has always been very supportive of everything I do in my life, and I think that makes a big difference.
definitely. Like being
Mhm.
surrounded by people who truly love and care about and help you to grow.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
another thing you did was, and we didn't really get to touch on this in the beginning, but you moved from South Africa to the US. Why
Yeah.
did you do this?
um, yes, so by the time that I was finishing high school, so we had apartheid in South Africa, and I pretty much just missed it. So by the time that I was in high school was when it came to an end, and Nelson Mandela, he was made president, and he was amazing. And I mean, I have so much, I've read so much about him. I didn't know much about him growing up, in the sense that he was always seen as the bad guy,
Mm,
you know. And but I remember when I was in high school, when apartheid ended, they introduced something called affirmative action, meaning that they are going to correct the balance of ethnicity in the workforce. So people that had high paying jobs had to leave and be replaced by people of color. And
and had to what?
they had to leave their jobs. They had to resign, or take early retirement. Like my dad was, he was the police general, and he had to take a retirement
Oh, wow.
for someone else to take the position, someone who was African. And I knew that even with my college education, I will not be able to find a job because of my skin color. So
Mm,
it was the other way around, and it was very hard to leave. I first found a job in London at Citigroup in the banking industry, and my plan was to save all my money and go back to South Africa and just start my own business. But by the time that we were in London, things changed so much with, crime in South Africa got worse, and they started things like power sharing and water issues. There was a lot of issues, and we knew we didn't want to go back and raise a family there.
mm.
And believe it or not, my husband, he entered the green card lottery,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, and I thought it was a big scam. But my work visa was about to run out at Citigroup. It's only for 2 years at a time, and this is my second time, so I was there for 4 years. And yeah, and he won. But then we still had to, it was very expensive because we had to confirm our education and do all
Yeah.
these medical tests. It wasn't easy. But yeah, we came to America right after, in 2003, when the Iraqi war was going on. And it was hard. We came here with lots of cash, and it was hard because we didn't have any credit.
Right.
We were so confused. But yeah, it was hard. And we were hoping to move to San Diego, but with our jobs, we found jobs here in Houston and made lots of friends here. So Houston's kind of home now to us. But
That's
it's been
awesome.
great. Yeah, I feel very fortunate. And, every time I go back to South Africa, I realize how much Houston has become my home. I do feel more American than South African because I've been out of the country for so long.
Wow. It's amazing too, like how much Americans, I think, can take for granted the freedoms
Yeah,
that we have
mm-hmm.
and the
That is so
opportunities
true.
that we have. So I think it's cool
Yeah.
that you're bringing that perspective for us to hear and be reminded of, like, we have it really, really amazing here, and
Mm-hmm.
we should never jeopardize that. So I love that you brought that up. And um, something I was curious about was, like, what have you noticed to be some of the biggest differences between how you grew up in South Africa versus how you're raising your kids here?
That is so funny that you asked that.
Really? Why?
um, so I grew up in a small town, and we didn't have, not that we were poor, but we didn't quite have, we had a television, but um, I think our movies, like there was like a small Mickey Mouse cartoon that would come on 5 minutes before we had to leave for school. And then on Sundays, we had like some kids, it was like one or two stories to watch.
Mhm.
And that was it for us for television. And we had like one movie theater to go to, and it was like the same movie playing like for 2 or 3 months. And but yeah, if when I got bored, I would go climb a mountain, which sounds crazy now saying it out loud, but I would go by myself and I'll go hike up a mountain right next to our house. And our play areas, our play parks, it didn't have bumpers like the kids have here. Like, there was no Chick-fil-A with soft rubbery mats. Like it was pretty much these wooden structures outside. I think they've changed it now since.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's just I grew up very sheltered, and with my dad being the police general,
Yeah.
very protected. But we had a great time. We also had like these big parties, police parties, which I love. Um, but the difference is my children are, they're so fortunate here in America. They have access to great classes like gymnastics, soccer. I feel like they get some of the best education here, and they are just so advanced. If I look at the things they do in school here versus what my nieces are doing in South Africa, it's like day and night.
Wow.
And they unfortunately they do have a lot more responsibility and pressure on them here than I remember having in South Africa. And they have also, the good thing is they have access to all the toys and stuff that they want. In South Africa, if there's a new Barbie, where I grew up, there was like 3 Barbies. And
Oh
if your
man.
parents missed it, you didn't get a Barbie. Only 3 people got a Barbie. And so it was very, very different than what they have. But also good in the sense that, I spend most of my time riding my bike, climbing mountains, being outdoors, and living in Houston. We just, the weather isn't that great here in the summer. So my kids usually have lots of friends over and they'll swim and have sleepovers, but it's definitely not the same as what I remember. Like they definitely are more entertained here than what we were in South Africa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always so interesting to me to hear about, like, differences from country to country. And you mentioned your nieces are over there. So do you go back
Hmm.
and visit family? Is that why you've gone back?
Not just that, but we talk every week on WhatsApp. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
WhatsApp, yeah. So we talk, and then they'll talk. I'll hear the kids talk on what they are doing in school, and they all kind of the same ages. And it sounds like it's amazing the difference. And it's because the level of education is not the same there as it used to be when we went to school. It has changed a lot, unfortunately. Um, but
Wow.
our school was also more of a private school setup.
Hmm.
It's not like here where you have public schools, and we also go to 2 schools, so there was only elementary and high school. That was it. And it was cool because you kind of grew up with the same friends. So your friends in your first grade would go with you in second grade. So the kids stayed together, which was really awesome.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the experience I had. Like I live in and lived and grew up in this small suburb of a
Yeah.
suburb of a suburb, and like we all went to the same elementary school, which then became a middle school, which then we all went to the same high school and met with the other kids from the school down in the next,
Mhm.
like the next block or whatever. So it's
So
just,
much better.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was super small graduating classes, so you definitely
Mm-hmm.
develop close relationships and you learn a lot about like the kind of person I think you want to become and the type of people you want to be surrounded by because there's variety still.
Mm-hmm. No, that is, I do think it makes such a big difference. And I'm so glad you got that experience because I think it helps you later in life to also develop close bonds with people. I think it does. There's definitely something there to be said
That's a
versus kind
really
of
good point.
switching around. Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I can't imagine having gone to like an elementary school in one town to then like
Mm-hmm.
a middle school another. Like my dad, he was a military brat, so he was
Oh,
used
yes.
to he was used to moving everywhere, and he was like it was super hard to develop close friendships. So I read a
Mm-hmm.
lot. I did things on my own, or I made the wrong friends, and then or I made the right friends, but then I had to leave again. So I agree. There's definitely a blessing in having
Mm-hmm.
consistency. So
Oh, yes, absolutely.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we've covered so many different topics that I want to ask
Mhm.
you, like, is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you think I should have?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything. But
Okay,
I could
so
talk to you for hours.
I know I didn't
Yeah.
even realize how we've been talking for like over an hour and 10 or whatever. I had no idea. I
Yeah.
was like, this is really fun.
It is.
It's super easy talking to you. And oh, Alexandria Ross. She was like, ask her if she's a vampire because she doesn't age. I was like, okay.
I love her so much.
Yeah, she loves you too. She was so excited when I posted about that I was having you on and
Oh,
yeah, it's super
that
sweet.
was sweet. No, I remember like always being asked about my age when I was younger, and then it stopped. you know, but
Yeah.
it's okay. I used to think of age as a bad thing, and now that I'm older myself, it's funny how that's changed. I think it's kind of like there's some beauty in it, and I think that instead of fighting it, we should embrace it. It's hard because you do see your body change, but there's so much beauty that comes with that as well. Like there's so much memories that make alive that
Hmm.
I think instead of looking at the outside changing to acknowledge the inside, like all that experiences that kind of builds up. To me, that's kind of like it's just beautiful.
Wow, that's beautiful what you just said. That's amazing. I really
Mm-hmm.
liked that a lot. That was a good reminder. I appreciate that. So, what would be your best advice for competitors or people who are thinking about becoming competitors or new competitors?
For a new competitor, I would say it really is important to work with a coach. I know that you can coach yourself, but it really is good to work with a coach. It is worth the money, but it's important that you do your research on the coach as well. And again, don't just go on and read online about things, but ask actual people that have coached and trained with them before. We can do online. You don't have to do in-person training. You can do online as well. Super important is that you get your food high enough before you start prepping for a show because you got to realize you are going to be cutting away. You're going to get to a point where you're going to have to lean down, and before you can lean down, you have to first build up that body, right? You have to create that shape, and it does take time. And so I want to say, don't get frustrated if you don't see that straight away, and don't rush to the stage, because it's going to change. If you rush to the stage and you have a bad experience, it's going to change your whole mindset on competing. If you have a bad experience at first time, it's going to get into your head and it's going to make you afraid to compete again. Um, I see it so many times where girls, they get excited and they sign up with a coach that promised them they're going to be ready by doing like a 10-week prep, and then they go compete and they're devastated because, I think all of us do know, you know your body, you know when you are ready, when you're not ready. So do definitely take the time. There's a lot of time to get to the stage, and the difference between a 12-week prep and a 20-week prep is not that big.
I love that. That's really good. And just everything you just said is just like really great advice for a newbie or something. I feel like anytime someone asks me like how to get started in competing, I'm always like, wow, I would have said exactly what you said, especially in regard to like make sure you're not already in a perpetual diet. Like make sure you're
Right.
not in a deficit already. Which is so common. Most people have been dieting and they're like, well, now I'm gonna do a show, but it's like, but where are you gonna pull it from? So
Exactly.
I really liked that. And then of course with the coaching as well. Now, what about advice for the competitors who are trying to go pro?
So for competitors trying to go pro, I would say be very strategic about it. Something that has helped me a lot is I wanted to get in front of Sandy before nationals. So what I did is I started out doing shows in Texas, but when I joined up with Pro Physiques, we had like a whole different game plan, and I love that. So we made sure to get in front of. We did a couple of Spectrum shows where Sandy was a judge, and some of the other national judges were there. Also did a show, the Pittsburgh Pro Amateur Show, earlier this year. And the beauty of that is that at first the judges get to see you and you get to get feedback from them, and you get to work on that feedback. You can make the improvements that's needed. And when you show up at nationals, then you're not a new face to them. They've seen you already. They will most likely remember you. Sandy's amazing. She does remember faces. And, they'll see that you made improvements. So I think, that's the first, I think that's really crucial, is to have a plan. Don't just compete in a show and then, let's say you place second or third. Is it third now that you have to be qualified for nationals? I know they changed that.
It's first and second now.
First and second. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably better because it used to be top 5.
So many girls.
Yeah, and I think first and second place is really good for being qualified for nationals. But it really is good to get in front of those national judges before nationals, so you have time to make the changes. That would be the first thing, and the second part is, what was it? Oh, keep showing up. If your body allows you to show up, keep showing up. Don't get discouraged. And I used to get second place all the time, to the point where my coach was teasing me. I'll get second place and he'll be like, I know you hate second place. And it's not that I didn't like second place. It's just, it's so hard, when you start to wonder, what is it that I need to fix? And it's, second place is so close to first place that it's really tough, because you must know that you had first place votes in there. It's just a matter of showing up again. And so yeah, don't get discouraged. Listen to your body. If you keep pushing it also with showing up so much and your body needs a break, listen to it. And maybe it's time to go into an improvement season and come back next year. So I do think it's important to listen to your body. Very often I hear of girls who are hitting the national circuit and their bodies are just so tired from doing so many shows back to back. And then they push, and it's usually not good.
Right.
You know when your body stops responding, when you're doing all the work and you're just not seeing any difference in your body. That's usually how I know, okay, it's time to take an off season.
Yeah, or when your mind is starting to be like, I don't really want to do this. I'm just doing
Yes.
it because I'm supposed to show up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
that is so dangerous. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah,
And
it is dangerous, huh?
mm-hmm.
Well, that
Yeah.
advice is awesome. I appreciate that you also brought the strategy up into that and the phrase keep showing up if your body allows. That stuck with me. I really like that
Mm-hmm.
you emphasize that. And the strategy aspect, super cool. That's something that I think you're with a really good coach if they have strategy, and
Mm-hmm.
that is part of it. So I think it's awesome that you actually shared a big piece of that because I think that can give girls an idea of, hey, that's a really great plan. I should be doing that. Like,
Yeah.
but my question was, how do you know? Because we know Sandy does Spectrum shows, and we know she'll sometimes go and judge at
Mm-hmm.
Salt City Showdown, but
Yeah.
we don't know where the other national, at least I don't because I'm more familiar with the West Coast. Like we don't know where all the national judges are going to be. So how do you? And I remember one time Robin Maher came on. She's like, "Well, you don't always know the judges who are going to be placed at your show."
Right.
Then I go to muscle contest shows and I pretty much know every single judge. So
Mm-hmm.
what's your thought process? Like, how did you know? Like, okay, I should go to this one or this one.
So honestly, I have to give all of that to my coach. But also, I've noticed that specifically for Sandy, if you look at the flyers, it will show who's judging. Um, and I've noticed that if she's judging, they always say she's judging. But I don't know about other shows. I think that it's a matter of knowing someone who knows. And in my case, it was my coach knows. Um,
Experience. It's kind of like,
experience, like, yeah, I think a lot of coaches know just from being at the show the previous year who the judges are for that show as well. Which
yeah.
was, I think that was the case with my coach, is that he knows who judges at specific shows. And I also think that he has a good understanding of what kind of judges, which judges will like my kind of body more than other shows, that they might want a harder look, because I don't have a very hard look. I don't think I do. I have more of a roundness to it, but a fuller look, I'd say. And so I think he knows, what kind of judges might like that more than others.
Yeah, that's a great strategy point too. I love this. You've shared seriously so much value with us, and the conversation we've had has just been so fulfilling and awesome. And I appreciate you coming
Great.
on here.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for this podcast. It's such a gift.
Of
I look forward
course.
to it every time.
Thank you for listening. It's like I said before we started, seriously it's so cool when I get to interview people who listen. And I of course want everyone else to be able to appreciate you coming on and also connect with you too because you shared so much that I think that they could reach out and maybe even pick your brain or get some more insight on
Mhm.
some of those things like posing and coaching, etc. So where could people find you?
On Instagram, they can find me. It's Judith underscore IFBB Pro.
Awesome.
And also, I recently started a YouTube channel, which is
I
it's
subscribed.
oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So it's so new to me, but I've always wanted to share the journey, like kind of like following me to a pro debut or just different ways to exercise. And it's definitely, I had to step out of my comfort zone, to be honest.
Yeah, your videos
Um,
are great quality though.
I have someone doing it for me, but I want to get to the place where I can do more vlogs. So
Yeah,
more of I guess, a personal approach.
totally.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that, and I part of that is I also want to share different posing videos on there of different people, like different pros or NPC girls. So if anyone wants to share their posing on my YouTube channel, let me know, please. You can maybe send me a DM on Instagram at that Judith underscore IFBB Pro. And I would love to put your posing up there because I love posing. I think all of us have a different style of posing, and it's fun to go watch. I just love it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. I think that's awesome. And yeah, your YouTube is awesome. What is the YouTube handle?
It is Judith Dicker Fitness.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I put all of those links in the show notes page. So that's always going to be
Great.
on celestial.fit/podcast. And for yours specifically, there's a category section with every single athlete. So if you guys are listening right when the episodes come out or before the following Friday, it's going to be at the top of that page. If not, you can always scroll to the very bottom if you're on your mobile to the category section and hit Judith's name. It's all alphabetized. And then if not, you can always go on the website and see it there too. But like I said in the beginning, I seriously appreciate you guys so much tuning in. Reviews mean a lot to me, so please go leave one. This is me totally asking you to go do it. And then also just that you're here listening every single week. I'm really striving to make sure we keep this up, and I just appreciate all the love, and I'm excited to see where we continue to grow together. And Judith, thank you again so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to everyone listening to my story.
Yes! Oh my gosh, you're amazing. So I hope everyone listening has an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you guys are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Make it awesome.